There were more horses in the Roman camp than soldiers. Thousands, tens of thousands, and every day, one of them died. A leg, disease, old age, a barbarian's arrow, 500 kilograms of meat, bones, and skin, and you have 24 hours to get rid of it, because in a day, there will be plague here, a stench that will make you sick a mile away, and flies, millions of flies. What did the Romans do with dead horses? They didn't bury them, they didn't burn them, they did something else, something that will make your face fall. How? The Roman army was a machine that never stopped, not for anything, not for the wounded, not for the dead, and certainly not for horses. But a horse is not a person. You can do things to a horse that you can't to a person, and the Romans took full advantage of this. Today you'll learn where thousands of horse carcasses disappeared to in Roman camps, and why not a single detail was wasted. First, the numbers. A single legion had about 5,000 infantry, and between 500 and 1,000 cavalry, plus mules, plus horses for the officers, plus horses for the supply trains. In total, almost as many animals as soldiers, and sometimes more. One horse weighed an average of 500 kilograms. A horse produced 20 kilograms of manure per day, but that was later. And now, death. What did the Romans do when a horse died? Step 1. Diagnosis. If the horse was simply old or had a broken leg, it was slaughtered. Cruel. Yes, but quickly. A sword to the back of the head. 1 second. The horse didn't suffer. The soldiers didn't cry. This was war. If a horse died on its own, it was immediately examined by a veterinarian. Yes, the Romans had military veterinarians. Veterinarii. They checked to see if the disease was contagious. If it was, they burned the carcass. If not, they continued according to plan. Step 2. Butchering. Don't trust the soldiers with this. They have more important work. Slaves. Always slaves. They approached the carcass with knives. They skinned it carefully. Skin cost money. Lots of money. Horse skin was used to make belts, girths, saddles, shoes, sword sheaths, cloaks. Not a single piece was wasted. Step 3. Meat. The Romans didn't eat horse meat. You're wrong. They did. When there was food. No. When food ran out. Yes. A horse is 500 kilograms of protein. That's a week's worth of meat for an entire century. But only if there's no other food. Because horse meat is tough, and it has a strange taste. But hunger knows no tastes. Step 4. Bones. Bones were crushed. Brains were boiled for leather. Bone scraps were used for knife handles, dice, and amulets. Bone glue was made from hooves. Everything was used. Step 5. What was left? Guts, blood, head, hooves. They buried them deeply or burned them, because leaving them in camp meant inviting flies, plague, and dysentery. 24 hours, no more. And now comes the most interesting part. Sometimes the Romans didn't bury the remains. Sometimes they used them, again, as bait. The horse carcass was taken beyond the palisade, right under the enemy walls. Left there, the enemy watched, sniffed, sickened, demoralized, and sometimes they went beyond the walls for meat and got shot. The Romans didn't just get rid of dead horses, they turned them into weapons. Now, the human factor. Imagine yourself as a soldier. You are standing guard. The wind blows from the direction where a rotting horse lies. You feel sick. You can't eat. You can't sleep. You hate that horse. You hate the centurion who ordered it left there. But after 3 days, you get used to it. The smell becomes part of the camp. Like smoke, like sweat, like fear. And what if you were the owner of that horse? You raised it. You fed it from your hand. You slept next to it on the march. And now its meat is eaten by your comrades. Its skin is your new belts. Its bones are dice in the centurion's tent. You look at it, and you don't cry, because Rome doesn't cry. The stakes. If you leave the carcass in the camp, an epidemic will break out. Flies, diarrhea, fever, people die. If you transport a carcass too close, the enemy can use it for cover, or as food, or as a psychological warfare weapon. If you burn a carcass, the smoke will reveal your camp's position. The enemy will know where you are. If you bury a carcass, it will take 4 hours of work by a dozen men, and those men could have been used for something else. The Romans chose the lesser evil, and that evil was called efficiency. Compare this to any other army. The Greeks abandoned carcasses anywhere. Their camps stank from a mile away. Enemies could find them by smell. The barbarians didn't bother at all. They abandoned their horses and moved on. Disease mowed them down faster than Roman swords. Medieval knights. They buried horses like people. with prayers, with monuments, spending half a day at it. And Rome butchered a carcass in 2 hours, and moved on, because for Rome, a horse is not a friend. A horse is a resource. Alive, it works. Dead, it still works. Skin, meat, bones, even the stench, all can be used. All of it brings victory closer. So, the answer to the riddle: what did the Romans do with dead horses in camp? Everything. They skinned them, ate the meat, crushed the bones, made glue, buried the entrails, and sometimes they were sent to rot under enemy walls like biological weapons. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was buried with honors. Only efficiency. Cold, cruel, Roman. 500 kilograms of horse, 2 hours of butchering, not an ounce of waste. And the army moves on. And now the question I promised you. You love horses. You couldn't watch your horse being butchered for straps and dice, but a Roman soldier could, and without blinking. Can you turn off your emotions to survive? Write in the comments. Would you eat your horse if there was no other food? And subscribe, because in the next video I'll tell you how the Romans used horse manure. Spoiler, they used it for everything. Yes, everything. Don't miss it.